In this video, we're going to be talking about the different stages within the healing journey and how to keep the momentum going. So without further ado, let's get into it. Hi and welcome to Oak Door. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Claire Attio. For those that are returning subscribers, thank you, thank you, thank you. And so jumping straight in the healing journey, and I know a lot of us out there, myself included, have kind of like, we've all gone through stages, but in the last 6 months, there has been such a forceful energy coming forward saying, okay, now this, now this, now this, now this. And it's if you're a man, I apologize for the analogy. If you're a woman that's not yet had children, or you chose not to have children, or you couldn't have children, then this analogy doesn't work for you. But it's like that labor when you get to the end and there's just no let up. It's another person, another person, another person. And the healing journey, especially in the last 6 months, has been like that. You just work your way through and integrate and feel comfortable with one thing, and it's like a whoosh of energy, and it's like boom, onto the next one. And I say 6 months, but actually it's probably 2 years. Whereas of old, we were able to kind of dip in, dip out, dip in, dip out. But because of where we're going cosmically, the drive to rise, the Christ consciousness, there has been a greater guiding force to get this cleared in preparation for where we're taking humanity and when we're taking the planet with those higher levels of consciousness. And so, first of all, I want to say congratulations, myself, to you, to everybody who's been doing this work. We need to remember to take a breath and really give ourselves a pat on the back. Well done. We've done it. We're doing it. Is there still more to do? Absolutely there is, but we are doing it. We are showing up for ourselves, for each other, for the greater good of humanity. So let's just be mindful to take the time to congratulate ourselves, take the time to give ourselves a pat on the back, take the time to fully acknowledge what we're doing, because the work that we're doing, yes, are we doing it so that we can get ourselves into a place and a space where we have a better life, a more graceful existence with greater flow? Absolutely. But the work we're doing now is the legacy we will be leaving for future generations. So let's just make sure that we do take that time to sit in the grace of gratitude and give ourselves that pat on the back. Not in an egoic state, but in a self-loving, self-embracing, self-acknowledging way. So that's the first thing I wanted to say, because it has been, as I said, it has been kind of boom, 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 and you do, you sit there a little bit dumbstruck sometimes. For me, when I was kind of tuning into these energies and the messages that came down from spirit, the conversations and what they wanted me to talk about, was they gave me the analogy, because I was like, well, how can I actually put that? How can I actually talk about these stages? Because we all know that time's not linear. We know that our existence is not linear and it is a spiral. And I talked about that in the last video. So how can I explain this? That one gives a greater understanding, which helps build that stronger foundation, and two is motivating. And the analogy that I was given, the visual I was given, was a game of Jemanja. Is it Jemanja? Jenga. Sorry, Jenga. Jemanja. Jumanji is that other board game movie type thing, wasn't it? It was a game of Jenga. So for those that aren't familiar with Jenga, they are the wooden building blocks, and you build a tower. And actually, when they gave it to me, I was like, ah, yeah, perfect. Thank you, Spirit. Because if you're identified as an empath or highly sensitive, I know when I started out the journey, it was like, okay, this explains what's going on in my life. It now has a label, and I can gain that greater understanding. And then a few years in, it came in that empaths, you have your abilities, you gain those abilities because you learnt to be sensitive to those energies, because as a child, your base chakra was completely shot to pieces because your environment didn't feel safe. So you learned to feel the energies. You taught yourself to have sensitivities to the frequencies of your environment, so you could modify your behavior to keep yourself safe. Now, that's not to say that you were in an unsafe environment physically. For some of you, that is the case, and my heart goes out to you, and I'm sorry that that's been part of your pathway. For most of us, it was energetically, emotionally unsafe. And so we learned, and I know for me, when I first heard that, I was really angry. I was like, where is that coming? And I just pushed it away. I didn't want to listen to it. Not because I wanted to be an empath and aren't I special? It wasn't from that, but it was not wanting to look at the levels of dysfunction that existed for what I then thought of and still think of as a loving family environment. And I do still think that I grew up in a loving family environment, but I cannot deny that there were serious levels of dysfunction that affected me. When the concept first came onto my radar, I wasn't willing to accept that. I was still in that family unit. We fight for it and we defend it. And yeah, I still fight for it and I still defend it, but I don't do it with blinkers. I don't do it with my eyes wide shut. And so that is one part of the healing journey. As you start to do your inner work, as you start to take those wooden blocks off, you start to see these dysfunctions. You start to learn about the dysfunctions that existed, and you start to take ownership of them, acknowledge them, take ownership of them, and do what is needed within you to ensure that that doesn't continue to be passed on. The other aspect of it is, as with the Jenga, when you're building that tower, because of that high sensitivity, you can build, and we do build, walls rather than boundaries. And as we build those walls, as they keep getting higher and higher and higher and higher and higher, we cannot see into the past because we put that wall there. We've built that tower, we've built that wall, and we can't see into the past. And I have found this in my practice with lots and lots of clients, is they can't remember aspects of their childhood. And I remember not being able to remember aspects of my childhood. And I remember at a few junctures being really scared of, if I can't see it, what happened? It must be terrible. It must be horrific. It must be terrifying if I've blocked it out that much. And in some cases, yes, that will be true. But in the majority of cases, it's because we've built these walls that we're no longer able to see into the past. And as we start the healing journey and we start to take those little bricks out, we start to have vision of the past. We start to be able to unpack it and remember it. So that's the first thing. The other thing is we don't want walls. We want that to come out. And this is where the Jenga aspect really comes into play in a beautiful way, because we're taking those bricks out. And yes, okay, we might get to see into the past. We may get memories come back that we've forgotten we had. And the beauty with that, and the one thing I want to say is, yeah, we forget those memories. And so because of our knowledge of psychology and because the more traumatic aspects of that are discussed openly for people these days, it's very easy to send ourselves into that space. In my experience and in the experience that I have had with many of the clients that I've worked with, is when they start to get those memories back, yeah, some of them are a little bit but a lot of the memories are happy memories. They're also happy memories, but because of the wall, they weren't able to see that. And that helps on the healing journey, because when we have a wall we can't see and we can't remember, not only can we not remember the possible bad stuff, but we can't remember the good things either. And so innately, because of how we're wired, we innately think negatively rather than positively. But in my experience, there's usually a good balance, if not a greater emphasis on the happy memories that come through. That's one aspect. And once we take enough bricks down and we start to get those memories, that motivates us to keep going, because we're like, oh, it's not all bad. It's not all bad. It's not as dysfunctional as I thought. And the bits that were dysfunctional, okay, I can deal with those. But actually, oh, I'd forgotten about that. And it allows us to get in touch with the innocence of childhood and the joy that we took from that. It allows us to bring back and pull into our now memory bank happy occasions. And we all know when we're going through a rough patch, we draw upon those happy occasions. And our childhood, even if you've been in a dysfunctional, obviously if you've been in an abusive, you've unfortunately experienced an abusive childhood, that is a very different set of paradigms. I'm talking about normal dysfunction here, if you can have normal dysfunction, but just for conversation's sake, we're all aware that I think it's something like 98% of families are dysfunctional, have a level of dysfunction in them. It allows us to bring all those memories back into the now, all those happy memories back into the now. It allows us to build our positive memory reservoir on which we can draw on when we're in hard times, when we're experiencing challenges and difficulties that are normal with life. So that's one aspect of doing and pulling those blocks out. The other aspect, when you think of Jenga, is at some point you're going to pull one of those blocks out and the whole lot comes crashing down. And again, in my experience, what actually happens with that, when that starts, you know when it's starting to crumble, because when you're going in and you're dealing with one thing, or you're sat and thinking, right, okay, I need to work on this, and you connect with spirit, you connect with your higher self, you do whatever modality it is that you're choosing to do to release the negative energy that sits in you from that experience, from that issue, from that program that needs reframing, or that memory that needs reframing or needs consideration over. What happens is you start to hop, jump and skip through several incidents and memories. And going back to the analogy of being an empath, when I was ready to sit and deal with that, when I was ready and in a space to go, okay, being an empath means that I felt a huge level of insecurity. My root chakra was obviously blown to smithereens. And so I learned how to feel energies so that I could keep myself safe. And I had to acknowledge that, because I had to acknowledge my behaviors as an adult and molding myself to the person that I was with, and all the codependency that went with that, because I wasn't actually being true to myself, because I was adapting my behavior, thinking that I still needed to keep myself safe. And that was just a vicious cycle, because that kept me in a cycle of attracting people that I was never going to feel safe with. So you do get to a point where you need to heal it. When I did that, when I sat and I thought, right, okay, I take this back to my childhood, I'll take it back to looking at my root chakra, looking at why my foundation didn't feel safe, and why I taught myself how to feel into these energies to stay safe. And I asked my higher self, okay, show me some incidents. And they started showing me incidents. And that then took me to another aspect. And then it took me to another aspect. And so I was given one memory, two memories, three memories. But what started out as safety then started into the codependency, that then started into even abundance blocks, which I never expected, I never correlated. I hadn't put the pieces of the puzzle together. And that's the beauty of the healing journey. And that's the beauty of looking at the healing journey like a game of Jenga, because you take those blocks off, you take those walls down, and you learn to put boundaries up instead. Because with boundaries, you hold that firm line. You do that from a place of empowerment. When we build walls, we're doing it from a place of disempowerment. Boundaries is something that we create because we know ourselves, we know what we want, we know what we deserve, we know what we value, and we know our worth. And that's where I'm putting that boundary. And you step over that boundary, and there will be consequences. Because I value myself. And there are certain aspects that I'm not tolerant of. And you're able to communicate that very clearly. When you've got a wall, you don't fully know yourself, because you can't see a big portion of your life, because that's in the past, and you've built those walls because I have to put these walls up, protect myself, protect myself, protect myself. You can't see, so you can't embrace all of who you are. So you're not going to know all of who you are. And if you don't know who all of you are, then you can't make those decisions. It's much more difficult to hold that self-love, that self-worth, that self-value. And from that, build boundaries that function for you without imposing your boundaries on other people. All you're actually saying is, this is me, this is what is important to me, this is how I want to be honored and respected, these are my boundaries. Now you tell me what yours are, and we will mutually be respectful of that. Positive reciprocity of feeding your own needs while supporting another, rather than codependency, where we start yo-yoing, ping-ponging. You have my energy, I take your energy, and just push, pull, push, pull, push, pull. That's what we're trying to avoid. That is what the healing journey is all about, is to be able to stand in your power and put your boundaries up, and then surround yourself with people that have also done that work, your soul tribe, that have done that work, and they stand in their power and they put their boundaries up. And so there is no ping pong, energetic ping pong. There are no games. Sometimes there will be misunderstanding, but there is enough confidence and enough consciousness to go, did you mean that? I found that a bit hurtful. Did you actually mean it that way, or am I just being sensitive today? This is the difference. There's no games being played. There's a higher level of consciousness. There is higher levels of honesty and authenticity. That's why we do the work. But I fully understand, because I've been there as well, that when we're taking those bricks out to begin with, we think we're doing all this work and the tower's still there. It looks like it's not changing, but it is. You're picking away at the foundations, and we all know, if you've ever played that game, you don't even have to pull one brick out. You just touch it, and then it all starts to crumble down. That's what we're doing. Don't lose heart. Keep doing the work. Think of it as a Jenga tower. Because what will happen is, one day you will go in, you will do a healing, and I have to say, an experience has taught me that it's usually you go in and you think, oh yeah, I'll just do that. That'd be quick and easy. It's that quick and easy one that brings the whole lot down. And then you start to get these epiphanies. You get the memories come back, and it's like ching, 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 and it lines up. Don't lose heart. Keep doing the work. I know it has been full on, but I also know that every single one of us is absolutely worth it. Take care. If you've liked the video, then please press that like button. If you've not yet subscribed, please subscribe. And I shall see you on the next one. Bye-bye.